Now live with Governor Dan McKee. Lots to talk about after the governor released the plan to help strained primary care system in Rhode Island, plus transportation funding be at risk in Rhode Island. Governor, always good to see you here. Thank you for making some time for us. We certainly appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks for the invite, Dan.
So you addressed a huge need, a lack of primary cares. You came up with a plan, you announced it, people were trying to process it, and all of a sudden you're getting some criticism maybe about 2 hours later from Attorney General Nerona. This seems to be a continuing kind of cycle.
Yeah, he can't help himself, right? I mean, he certainly wears his politics on his sleeve, which is an agenda to, be highly critical of me personally, and then it blends over into our staff. So our staff are highly qualified. As you said, they came out with a very good plan to address some of the primary care issues, including incentives for practices to bring in primary care.
Right.
An idea of transparency, the legislation, so it makes sure that the providers out there provide us with unaudited quarterly statements.
Right.
Issues that have to do with making sure that we are providing pathways for not only the 25,000 patients that on the anchor, but also creating a strategy, a long-term strategy, as well, with asking the General Assembly to approve a rate review. We asked them last year, it didn't happen. We're asking them again this year, and then within a year we'll have this rate review and we'll have better information.
And obviously there was a need, you addressed it, and if you want to read more about that plan, we have it on our turnto10.com. Last question about this though, why do you think the Attorney General kind of does this? Because for people looking at our elected officials, it doesn't necessarily have a good feeling. Do you think he wants to run for your job?
I don't know what you have to ask him for the reason, but it's pretty obvious that he is, he tried to influence the election in 2022, a bogus investigation that came up empty, and we knew it would, yet it kept on going, and now he's, he's positioned himself in a lot of the comments he's making to impact the 26 election.
All right, I want to talk about healthcare. Your healthcare budget, or your budget, has some healthcare workers not too happy. They're going to protest this coming weekend. They took a petition of no confidence, and they say you're cutting $25 million to hospitals, and it's really, really going to affect them. What do you say to those people before they're protesting about you?
Well, first of all, the investments we've made in the hospital, Dan, I think it's like 250 to 300 million over the last few years. Yeah, this year is a difficult budget year. We're increasing the funding to the hospitals, not decreasing them, which I think is an important point. And I know that there's, certainly a push to provide more funding to the hospitals, but right now our hospitals actually are actually operating in the black, except for the 2 hospitals that are in receivership right now.
What about staffing, though? Isn't that important too? Because we always hear there's a low level of staffing. Yeah,
the staffing is important. It's a national issue, but we've addressed that by increasing opportunities. I just left yesterday on our Reconnect. 56 different people have upgraded their pay by making sure that they upgraded their certification. We realize that our hospital and our staff is important. I think that we have invested wisely. And right now, look, this budget is going to be challenging.
Right.
And we still don't know what's coming our way from Washington relative to Medicaid and other issues that are going to clearly impact us.
And that's what I want to start in my next question here. It was reported this morning that the Trump administration may cut funding for transportation projects if states are handing out licenses to illegal immigrants. What do you think about that?
Well, first of all, we give an example. Washington Bridge. Last time we were on here, we talked about the fact that $220 million has been released to us. I've had conversations with Secretary Duffy, actually on a conversation with DOT, the national office today, about another project that we're making progress on. So we take one agreement at a time.
Right, but are we in jeopardy here? Are we handing out licenses to illegal immigrants right now?
The area that we're not in is as we are receiving agreements on the Washington Bridge. We're working on an agreement on the other bridges as well.
Right.
We expect to get the dollars there.
Right, but right now, are we in any danger? Are we handing out licenses to illegal immigrants right now in this state?
Well, again, in danger of what? Of losing what we've already been
No, but I'm saying, I'm just wondering, are we doing that or not?
Well, we're certainly going to have to get a clarification on
are you not sure right now?
What is coming from Washington. At this point in time, the agreements that we have assigned to make sure that with the funding for the Washington Bridge
I just was wondering if we're still giving illegal immigrants licenses in this state. Do we know?
We have a driver's permit, not license.
Okay.
Right. I'm sorry. Yeah, a driver's permit.
Okay.
Right. Not a license. to undocumented that have been here, established themselves over a period of time, and they're showing that they are contributing into our economy. I can tell you, look,
Okay.
they need to create a pathway for people who are actually, as Ronald Reagan did. I talked to you about that.
Yeah,
And,
I'm just saying what the president said. I understand
I get that. But I also know that immigration has been a problem. We inherited a problem here. We had to deal with it. We had to get people off the streets, safely. Have them drive with insurance.
Right. You and a lot of governors.
Yeah.
And, want to talk about? Can we get to Tidewater? Because I mean, obviously,
let's talk Tidewater.
You're pretty thrilled about that, right?
I am. That's a celebration.
10,000 people, sold out stadium. A lot of people doubted you. The one issue I'm hearing about ahead of Saturday is parking. How's the city going to look, and is it going to be able to handle 10,000 people?
I think so. I think they described it well when we were at Bally's the other day having a kickoff for the event. The president of the Rhode Island Football Club mentioned, look, this is more of a Fenway Park strategy. When you go up to Fenway Park, you find your spot. The parking is all within a mile that's been designated. RIPTA's actually creating transportation on every 8 minutes. Yeah. Let's see how it works out. It worked out at Bryant last year, but they put parking on the Fidelity side, and they transported in a way that really worked.
Okay, and last question. You know, your predecessor this week said that she would consider a run for 2028 to be the president. Would Gina make a good president?
Yeah, I think that she would. I think she made a good cabinet secretary, of commerce. Let her throw her hat in the ring and see what happens.
All right, Governor, always good. Thank you for your time. I appreciate your candidness. And now let's send it over to Emily.